So I have now reached 100 subscribers, which means I am legally obligated to make a 100 subscriber special. That's just a fact. So I decided, why not do a video based on kind of just going through my design process and builds. As you can see, I am in my creative testing area. Ooh, wow. So I'm not gonna kind of go around too much because I don't want to spoil anything that's gonna be happening in the future. Um, but in saying that, I kind of have everything for the village on Infinity SMP Season 3 kind of designed now. Like, I really don't need anything else more designed. So, what we're going to be building today is kind of like a sneak peek into the future of the channel. Like, it's going to be something I'm going to be building later on. So, hopefully, you guys are excited for that. But yeah, you also may notice my skin's looking a bit more 3D. I downloaded a mod that kind of just adds a bit more 3D-ness to the Minecraft skin. Like, the actual extra layers actually pop out a bit more. Like, it's kind of hard to see. You can kind of see it from the back a bit better, like the back of the headband, the goggles on my skin, and yeah, it's a whole thing. But yeah, so that's downloaded now. But yeah, let's just get straight into my design process. Now, something you should know, I don't really have an exact, I would say I don't have an exact design process. It kind of changes a lot throughout a design. So I'll start off designing something and then it'll kind of just like change completely by the end of it. Like I'll just, yeah, it's hard to explain. You'll see it in the video. But just for an example, this is actually the very first thing I designed for the village. Um, yeah, believe it or not, this is where this kind of stuff started, right here, in this design. So, well, yes, technically it was this. Oh no, I don't. What? Okay, no, never mind. So yeah, this was technically the first thing I built, but it's changed so much. I'm not counting it as that anymore. This is the first thing I built that it hasn't changed whatsoever, and oh my god, it's ugly. I don't know what I was thinking. But yeah, so you can see along here like what I've got designed. So yeah, without further delay, let's just get straight into the video. The very first thing I actually do when I'm building something is, to actually think of what I want to build. So over the last year or so, this has been relatively easy with my work on my abandoned village base on the Infinity SMP. But yeah, like I mentioned, everything for that is done. So I'm going to start on the new stuff. Like I said, I don't know why I'm repeating this. But I'm trying not to give too much away. But the architectural design I will be basing this build off is a mix between both ancient and futuristic. And that will all make sense when I explain the rest of the project at a later date. After coming up with an idea, it may be a good idea to find some reference images on Google to get you started with the general feel you want for a build. I generally try to find relatively basic images so I don't just go intricately copying it into Minecraft form in every exclusive little detail of this one image. After you know what you actually want to build and how you want to build it, it is a good idea to come up with a block or color palette to use when building. When designing an area that has multiple smaller builds, you really have to do this once, as you can use the same palette in more than one of the builds in the area. I do try to get a few gradients, but as you'll see by the end of the video, block palettes can completely change over the course of the design process, and that is completely okay. After I put the color palette in, I like to get some framework in. I do generally do this with red wool, however, it can work with other blocks, but honestly, I would recommend using red wool just based on the fact that I don't like it's not a block commonly used in builds and it just stands out, so it just makes sense in my opinion. I put in like a kind of framework of what I want to build. This kind of helps me with dimensioning and I can just see what is happening, but this don't feel you are restricted to this specific framework, as this is a recurring theme. The build, when I'm building, it changes a lot throughout the build. Like, you'll see that in this video. Like, after the framework is in, I then fill the areas with blocks to create a base for the build. And like I said, it changes a lot because like as you build more in a certain style, you become more experienced with it and you know what works and what doesn't. After all, a lot of the early stages of my building process is trial and error, seeing what looks good and what doesn't. My builds generally tend to be bit more medieval and gothic in their style, and with this project, am planning to aim for like just become more proficient in other styles of building, I guess, like futuristic. This is where an exact process tends to get a little fuzzy for me personally. I do like to start building up a fair bit and seeing where the general shape takes me, like instead of following a certain like pattern from here, like the first part of this video. So yeah, what happens is that usually I'll experiment with different design choices, and the one that I think suits best, I will integrate. This is easily the lengthiest part of designing a build simply because of how much trial and error I tend to use. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't, and yeah, you can kind of visualize it in your head a bit. Like, I know that a house built out of sponges and diamond blocks wouldn't exactly look great, but this is why having mods like World Edit come in handy. You can easily change massive aspects of the build in a second and revert it back even quicker if you don't like the result. Here comes the part which I think turns a lot of people away from build design, which is of course detailing. Arguably the most important part of the design process, detailing is what really gives life to a build, and in complete honesty, I am absolutely terrible at this stage. Detailing can easily make or break a build, and detailing doesn't just mean, oh look, let's just mix some random blocks into a wall and then we're done. Detailing consists of a lot of steps, including adding things like windows, texturing, gradients, ruin if it's required, ledges to create depth, and so much more. At the end of the day, an exact design process is a bit hard to like nail down. Um, okay, there we go. But like you can see just here, like this changed so much over the course. Originally, it was going to be like a little housey thing. I don't know what it was going to be, but like it was going to be like that. But then it just kept changing and changing, and that's not a bad thing. Like I can't emphasize that enough. This, like, just think if back on Infinity SMP Season 3, if like every single build looked like this, I would know that is not okay. This build looks terrible. I don't know why I'm keeping it, to be honest. But like, yeah, if it just changes so much. Like even when I came on here to record this last segment now, I've already changed much. Like a whole bunch of stuff. Like these worn patches were just wool. I had the idea to put purple concrete powder in. That was a whole thing. Then I changed all the quartz up here to not blackstone, deep slate. Like it changes so much. I can't emphasize enough that like builds will change over time, and like don't try to constrict yourself to the original idea you had in mind, because like when that happens you get builds that don't look all that good. Like just let it flow, let it do what it's trying to do, or what you're trying to do. I don't know, actually I probably should fill in this little bit here. Hang on, let me just quickly do that. There we go, that's fixed. But yeah, that is going to do it for my 100 subscriber special. I can't, to be honest, I can't believe that I've got to 100 subscribers. That's kind of just insane. But one last tip I will quickly mention is maybe like I do tend to listen to music while I'm like designing builds. Like lately, I've been listening to the Doctor Who and Steven Universe soundtracks, both really good. So yeah, just yeah, it's important that you enjoy the process and don't just hate every moment of it. That is one of the most important things as well, I guess. But yeah, thank you for watching today's video. It's been a bit of a different one, I'm sure you can realize that. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. And like, if you somehow enjoyed my illiteracy, I don't know how. I seriously don't know how. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one if you choose to watch it.